Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch. If this is your first time here, a special hello just for you. My name is Jody, I love watches, and I would love it if you would subscribe to the channel by hitting the big button that says subscribe on it. Today it's the video the world has been waiting for. Rolex versus Pagani. I'm surprised I haven't actually had a crack at this in some form or other before now, given the sheer volume of Paganis that I've had through the channel and also the number of rollers that I've managed to review over the last couple of years, most courtesy of my mysterious Rolex loving friend Mr. X. He actually sold off quite a few of his Rolex last year. He was starting a business that needed the capital. One that thankfully he kept though was his white dialed 42mm Explorer 2. I say thankfully because Pagani just released a clomage of the same watch a couple of months ago. So those are the two pieces that I'm going to be comparing today. But what am I going to be doing with them? I'm not going to do a 10 round head-to-head watch boxing special. I just didn't think it was worth it. I don't think these two watches are in the same weight division for a start. I don't think there's much overlap between the two. I mean, how many people have got the call from their AD saying that their Rolex Explorer 2 had just arrived and was ready for collection and said, no, actually, it's all right. I'm just going to go with a Pagani. Conversely, I don't think there is an argument for saving up for the real thing, given that the Rolex costs 100 times more than the Pagani, approximately. What I thought I'd do instead is I would do a mini review of the Pagani. If you want to see my full review of the Rolex, I'll leave a link in the top corner of the screen. Dimensions, specifications, pros and cons of this one in its own right, and then I'm going to compare the two to see just how close the Pagani gets. I think it gets really very close in some areas, and in other areas you can tell there's a fair old difference in price between the two watches. Let's flip the camera and get on with it. And there it is, Pagani versus Rolex. Clearly the hardest working member of the Pagani design office, the photocopier, has been in action again here, although I think it might need some new toner cartridge. Those clearly aren't identical. There are differences, mostly in the hand, design and size, more on that later, and also the placement of text on the dial. But it is definitely an Explorer 2 homage, of that there is no doubt. Let's talk price. I got mine from the Pagani Design AliExpress store. I'll leave a link in the description of the video. I'll also leave a voucher code. It's on sale at the moment. Add in a couple of vouchers here and there. You should be getting this one for under 115 US dollars. There is an option to add the big box for a few dollars more. That's up to you, obviously, how much value you put on the box. This is what I got, the old style smaller package with instruction manual, guarantee card, Pagani Design branded polishing cloth, and of course Pagani Design branded watch. And is rather the point with this type of watch, the dimensions are almost identical to those of the Rolex upon which it is based, those being 42mm in diameter, 12.5mm thick, 49 lug to lug. They've gone for a standard 20mm lug width though, tapering down to just under 18, back up to just under 20 at the clasp. Sized up for me, I have got a 7-inch wrist. I had to remove 4 links by the way, so big guys, 8.25-inch wrist, no problem at all. This one, sized up for me anyway, weighs in at 158 grams. The Rolex Explorer 2, Mr. X's Rolex Explorer 2, sized up for me, weighs in at 156 grams. So yeah, they've got it pretty much spot on. Stainless steel construction, so stainless steel case, crown, fixed stainless steel bezel and all stainless bracelet. Now we have solid end links. It is a 3-link oyster bracelet with screws and a proper milled clasp, double triggers and 3 holes of micro adjust. That is a piece of flat sapphire crystal covering the dial with a cyclops for those of you who like a bit of assistance with the date. Case finish, I think, is fantastic for $115 that they're asking, particularly that bezel. Beautiful stainless steel brushed radial bezel, paint-filled indices etched into them as well. I'll show you some highlights of this. I'll show you some macro footage a bit later on, but it just looks great under regular lens and macro lens. So they've gone for the same mixture of brush and polish as you'll find in a Rolex, so high polished slab sides and a nice bit of fine brushing on those upper lugs. Semi-guarded crown with a Pagani Design logo. Now I got one with a push-pull crown, but apparently all new models will have a screw-down crown, helping with 100 meters of water resistance. You can just see a bit of a beveled edge to that sapphire crystal as it fits into the bezel there as well. Now the bracelet, no rattle at all from those end links. Very, very well done here. 3-link oyster, these are proper individual links, and I did suggest earlier on, this one is a properly milled clasp with those double security pushers, and the Pagani design brand name etched in landscape on the top. Screw down stainless steel display case back, and advertising 100 metres of water resistance there again. Now the movement, nice Pagani design custom rotor there, slightly skeletonized. They call this a Pearl DG5833A. I've seen it advertised elsewhere as a Mingzhu DG5833A. Really, this is the automatic GMT movement that you'll find in Pagani's, Parnas, and anything else you choose to look into at or around this price. An indeterminate number of joules. It does hack, it does hand wind, but it is unidirectional winding from the rotor here, but it is nice and quiet. There's no noticeable noise when it's on wrist. And it has a proper independently adjustable GMT hand. If I pull the crown out to the first position and roll it forward, roll it away from me clockwise, it adjusts the date quickset date function. If I pull it towards me, roll it anti-clockwise, it adjusts the GMT hand only. So the way you set this watch is you adjust the home time first, out one more position, the movement hacks, as you can see, the second hand has stopped, and you can adjust the home time there. Then once you've set that, and you want to adjust your GMT hand, because obviously you cannot adjust this bezel, the bezel is very much fixed, back to the first position, roll it towards you, and you can adjust it accordingly. There we are. And that, to be honest, is a better set of numbers than I was expecting from the Pearl Mingzhu DG5833A. If it can run within plus or minus 10 seconds a day, I would be perfectly happy with that. Similarly, that's a healthy amplitude, decent beat error, and as you can see there, 21,600 vibrations per hour. So it's a 3 Hz movement rather than the 4 Hz you get with the Rolex, but hey, it's only costing you $100 rather than $10,000, isn't it? Dial and hands, pure Rolex, but then again, that is what we expect, isn't it? Triangle at 12, large batons at 6 and 9, and applied circular indices everywhere else. The rest of the dial is just printed. There's the Pagani design shield and brand name under the index at 12, and 4 lines of text beneath the pinion. So GMT in orange, matching the orange GMT hand, automatic, water resistance, and 10 bar/100 meters. There's a date complication at 3 with the Cyclops and a little stepped frame around that date window. Minute track around the outer edge also printed on, and an unmarked stainless steel rehaut, so they haven't decided to put Pagani, 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 Pagani all the way around it like Rolex do with theirs. Hands are gunmetal Mercedes hands to match the gunmetal surrounds to those indices, apart from obviously the 4th GMT hand, which is bright orange. And on wrist, I think it wears slightly better than the Rolex. Rolex actually updated this model for 2021, and they slightly thinned down the lugs and slightly beefed up the bracelet, and the Pagani actually has a bigger, thicker bracelet and wider clasp than the Rolex that I've got anyway, which is a 2019 model. So there you are, better than Rolex, at least in one area. Legibility is pretty good thanks to those gunmetal hands against the white dial. I suspect it would be better though if the hands had been a little bit larger. More on that later. Outside natural light, I don't think there's any anti-reflective undercoating on that sapphire crystal, but hey, Pagani can say that they're just copying Rolex again, because Rolex don't actually put any anti-reflective undercoating on their sports watches either. And on wrist, this is one of these watches that actually wears a little larger than the dimensions would suggest it did. 49 lug to lug isn't massive, but that big dial, the fixed bezel, all combines to make a watch that looks a little large and feels a little large as well. But it does sit flush when I show you the down the wrist shot. But let's bring back the Rolex and run through some of the pros and cons of the Pagani then. Some of the areas where I think it gets very close, some of the areas where I don't think it gets quite as close. First off, the hands. Now, they don't look ridiculous in isolation. If I just showed you the Pagani, they're fairly well proportioned. But when you compare it side to side with the Rolex, you can clearly see they are a much smaller handset. I'm not quite sure why they didn't match the Rolex exactly. Like I said, maybe the old photocopier is running out of toner. And a bigger handset would have helped with legibility as mentioned. So that was a negative. Let's have a look at a positive then. I think the standard of finish on that bezel is outrageously good for $115. It just blew my mind. I saw the photos of it on their website and I was convinced that they were photos of the Rolex. I'm still convinced that they were photos of the Rolex, but this has not disappointed at all in the flesh. Looks amazing in isolation. If I bring in a comparison of the Rolex, Rolex is very nicely finished. If I go back to the Pagani, very nicely finished it may be, but there's not 9.5 grams worth of difference between those two levels of finishing, is there? Similarly, I think the Pagani's case finish is very, very good as well. Not a lot going on, it's fairly simple. Again, if I bring in the Rolex for comparison, yeah, it's all very nicely done in the Rolex, but when I go back to the Pagani, there isn't the gulf between the two standards of finishing, given the gulf between the two price tags. However, there is a bit of a gulf between the lume on the two watches. Rolex on the left, Pagani on the right, but I probably didn't need to tell you that. They've gone for that ice white blue colour to try and replicate chromalite, but when I turn the speed up and get to the end of the 20 minutes, you can see that, well, it's still blue, but it's not nearly as good as the roller. Back to macro for another positive then. The lume may not be fantastic, but those lume-filled indices I think are very nicely done, very nicely applied to the watch as well. I love that dark gunmetal surround, obviously mimicking the Rolex. They are lume-filled and you've got that nice convex bulge to the top of them. And the GMT hand, the orange GMT hand of the Pagani, may lack the little syringe tip that comes with the Rolex, but it's a good looking little hand. The macro does, however, reveal that the printing on the dial is a little bit raggedy around the edges. My next complaint involves the Pagani design clasp. It is pretty much a given that I'm going to complain about the clasp in every Pagani design review. They just haven't quite got it right. I'm not complaining about what you can see. 3 holes of micro adjust is okay. Machining isn't fantastic on this bit, but I'll accept that. What I'm going to complain about is, oh God, they've done it again. They put a cheap, nasty, rattly divers extension, just like they did with the Tudor that I reviewed last month. Pagani, nobody's going to be taking this watch diving. Don't do it next time, please. No comparison then to a delicious Rolex clasp. Now you do get the Easy Link kind of flip-flop system with this one to give you an extra couple of mil. Don't try it Pagani, stick with micro adjust, just get it right next time please. Next positive, I'm going to show you that it wears better than the Rolex. 20mm lug width down to 18, back up to 20 at the clasp. You can see it sitting on me there, it sits nicely balanced, it is balanced physically and it is balanced visually. The Rolex, I think, has too much taper, all the way down to 15.5, back up to 17.5, meaning the head of the watch visually looks overbalanced and bobbly, and on wrist it can actually bobble around if you don't wear it tight enough. And the Mingzhu may have done okay for itself on the time grapher, but you can't beat a roller for accuracy. Plus or minus 2 seconds per day cased, and this one running at +2 with a higher beat rate. 10-year service interval as well. Unfortunately, I cannot state with the same confidence that this Mingzhu will be operational in 10 years' time or even 10 months' time. It is the biggest question mark about this watch. Any of the other Paganis and Parnis which feature it, you are asking an awful lot of a watch, $115 for a proper automatic GMT four-hander. This is the big question mark here. This is the big gamble you're taking when you pick up one of these. But if you like this look and you're prepared to take on the risk that comes with a relative unknown quantity of a movement, a very, very economically priced movement as well, shall we say, I have been most impressed with this Pagani. It wears nicely, screw down crown on new models is a definite bonus, and the standard of finish on the bezel and the case in particular, way, way beyond anything else I've seen for the money. So there you have it, Rolex versus Pagani. Is the Rolex the better watch of the two? Of course it is, don't be ridiculous. Is it 100 times better than the Pagani? Of course it isn't, don't be ridiculous. How could it possibly be? The law of diminishing returns in full effect with these two. I think the Pagani gets very close in a number of key areas. I think the standard of finishing on that case, especially the bezel, is outstanding for a watch at $115. It really is. Few areas where it doesn't compare quite so favourably though. The bracelet, it's not bad, but it's a little bit loose and rattly, and I hate that cheap and nasty divers extension. I wish Pagani would stop doing that. And why are the hands so small? I would love to see them redesign this with some decent sized hands, maybe move that little bit of orange lettering above the pinion as suggested. And the big question mark with all of these cheap GMT autos is, how long is that movement going to last? That I cannot tell you. Thank you for watching. I will see you all in a future video.